My name's Adele Onyango and welcome to another episode of Legally Clueless. No, seriously, I have no clue what I'm doing, but I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. Welcome back to another midweek tease, and it's all about this hope thing. Okay, so I finally have my voice fully back after leaving it on the streets. So first and foremost, my hope in my country is at an all-time high, despite the many lows that we've experienced and continue to experience across the last 2 to 3 weeks. Right now, I'm the most hopeful for Kenya that I've been in a very long time. I'd like to commend everybody who has been raising their voice against budgeted corruption, be it in the form of the finance bill or just unconstitutional offices that are minting billions of taxpayers' money. I really commend you for standing up for what's right. There's definitely been a shift in the country in the way that we have remembered and reclaimed our power. And I have to thank Gen Z for sparking this courage that spread across not only the country, but across generations. But I do have to remind you that this is a marathon. And so I have some thoughts on how we can keep this going. First, we need to deplatform these leaders from the high horses our colonized minds place them on. And remember that they are our employees. They are accountable to us. We're not their sons or their daughters. They're our employees. And respect isn't something that one gets automatically. It is earned. And demanding accountability is not synonymous with disrespect. These are all truths that we need to kind of come to peace with in our minds. And there's a lot of unlearning we need to do in terms of how we view power and how we view those in positions of leadership. That calls for a lot of introspection, and that's a you thing that you have to do. The second thing you have to do is arm yourself with knowledge. We don't have the luxury of ignorance. And a lot of these oppressive governments, including this one, have been running loops around us because we just don't know how these offices are meant to serve us. And guess what? They will never ever do the work of keeping us informed because it's bad for their business of looting. So we have to stay abreast when it comes to bills that are being proposed, stay abreast when it comes to corrupt cases, and really follow them to the very end. And so you can tap into tools that the wonderful Kenyan tech family, who are such allies in this fight, have been creating, be it GPTs that are looking and tracking Ruto's promises and what's been delivered and what hasn't. There's some that are looking at corruption cases nationwide. Today, I saw one that's looking specifically at corruption cases in Mandera. If you check out the show notes, I've put a link to either the actual GPTs or a link to the creators so that you can follow the resources that they're creating to make things easier for us. And still on information and arming ourselves with it, you need to question this information and dissect it. For example, right now, today and from late yesterday, we've been seeing that some functions of government are rejecting salary increments. No problem. However, when you dig a little deeper, our problem is the salaries as they were already too inflated. So you can't blind us by saying you're rejecting an increment of 14K when the base salary was the problem we had to begin with, right? So when you get this information, dissect it, okay? So that you can ask questions and really not be blinded by any PR stance that the government may pull. Arming yourself with knowledge even allows you to be able to hold your leaders accountable. And when you see them or hear them perpetuating lies, you can be able to call them out because you're standing on not just business, but facts. And speaking of standing on something, the third point is we've got to stand for something. And this is going out to my colleagues who, because of the work that we do, are public personalities or even celebrities. We've got to stand for something. We cannot be frolicking with oppressive governments, with those that fund these governments, with those that support the governments to do these bad things that they're doing anymore. That has got to change. You can use your platform to amplify the amazing work that civil society is doing. Gen Zs have come up with different organizations that are helping with civic education. Amplify that work. We've got to unlearn this idea as public personalities that proximity to government or proximity to Western countries means that we're successful. What is actually happening is that you are allowing them to tap into your audience and lead your audience astray. And that's irresponsible of us to do. And we've just got to stop it. I know it's very difficult to unlearn. Trust me, I'm on that journey as well. But that is a key part of this movement. And you can start unlearning it today. Please. You're needed in this fight. The fourth thing is something I truly believe in, which is economic boycotts. Sometimes institutions and people will not listen to the words that you're saying, but they will listen once their money is affected. We have seen this happen across feminist movements, and we can tap into it now. Refuse to put your money in any businesses that you know are funded from corruption proceeds, right? Refuse to put your money in businesses that we've seen not only across the 2 to 3 weeks, but even before that, we've seen businesses that have colluded with government. Refuse to put your money there. Refuse to buy shares. If you have shares there, sell them now. Why not? Make sure and be very intentional that where you're putting your money is aligned with your values. It doesn't matter how little that money is. It doesn't matter how much it is. It's the intention and the collective movement of us deciding where our money will go that has impact. Economic boycotts work, and we can do so now. And I know there's another tool. Actually, our tech family have really come through. There is a website. Again, I'm going to put a link in there. I was going to say show notes, a link in the caption of a website that is collecting different businesses that we know are prospering because the people running them are in government and they are looting. Do not put money in those businesses. If you're a DJ, because some of these businesses are clubs, why are you playing there? If you like going out, why are you going to those places? Refuse to put your money in places that are helping these institutions oppress you. The next point, I probably don't even have to say because we've seen it happen organically across this 2 to 3 weeks, and it's use your skill in this fight against budgeted corruption. It could be what the tech firm are doing when it comes to making information more accessible and broken down for Kenyans. It could be what we're seeing graphic designers do when it comes to infographics that really help us understand the scale when it comes to corruption cases and billions missing. Breaking those down into infographics that make sure that not only we understand, but is a language that we can use to share with our families and friends and the people that we interact with, so that people really understand that budgeted corruption is real and it's really holding our country back. It could be the photographers and videographers who were covering the protests, who put their lives at risk alongside us to document everything that was happening so that in case we see government propaganda, we actually have our own independent coverage of protests to counter that. It could be the young people who are translating bills into various languages to ensure that nobody gets left behind. Everybody is armed with information and understands what's happening with their country. So whatever your skill or your talent is, it is needed in the fight against budgeted corruption. Use it to help us amplify it. You're seeing the lawyers standing up for us. You're seeing the medics standing up for us. There are people right now who are standing up to say, hey, I have knowledge when it comes to issues land. And so I volunteer to follow everything land related that's going to be happening in the country. It could be as simple as that. Use your skill or your talent or your area of knowledge and expertise towards helping us fight budgeted corruption. And the last thing I'll say is this fight is overwhelming. What? It is overwhelming. And so I encourage you to take a rest if you need to. But please don't ever give up. We've currently, thanks to Gen Z and the courage that's been sparked across the nation, we've unlocked something that is pretty powerful. And I know it's a marathon, so we need to prepare ourselves for a long ride here, but don't give up. Rest if you must, but don't give up. That's it for this episode of Legally Clueless. You can share this podcast with your friends. You can keep it for yourself. I'm not judging. Just make sure you're here next week for the next episode.